All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Adrian First 15. Sunday. It's a great pleasure to have you all. We're about to start the meeting. Just in order to start a brief. All right. So people are joining, and it's a pleasure for us. There you go. All right. Good to see you, bro.
Good to see you too.
Good, good. So let me just do it like this. How's it going?
Good. We had a 9-hour adventure to get from the last place we were to here. So a
Good.
lot of motorcycle and yeah, we got to a hotel pretty late, got some sleep, got
Oh,
up and got ready for this. How you
good,
doing?
good. We're about to go live right now. I may just edit few things. So my dad is online
Okay.
actually. Dad is actually online. So I sent a message to him either, and let's start in a second.
Give me 1 second before you start.
Oh, it's we already live, so people are joining.
Letting people know that are calling me to not call me right now.
All right, so we're already live.
Ready when you are. Cool.
Okay, where is it is? There you go. So many people connected. I'm very glad about it. So let me get back in here. You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, always ready.
All right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We got back in here with our association today. It's a pleasure for me to have one of my brother. It's my cousin, and we linked each other because of a brotherhood. We spent so much time together, and I'm very happy to have today my brother Nima Khalilian. Good morning, Nima.
Good morning, Puya. You said my last name so well.
Okay, so just a brief introduction. Nima and I met again each other. Was in 2008, might be. When was?
I think it was closer to 2005. I was
Yeah,
18 when I
yeah,
came out there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what happened basically? We born with each other. Then Nima and his family move in the United States, and we weren't able to meet each other until 2000. Exactly, was it 2005? Actually, I met him again when I was in Los Angeles for a while, and well, things change. We grown up, and people change so much, and I was impressed by him, and then after 4 years, we met each other once again. So today I requested Nima to have a talk on a topic which is basically his book. In order to do it, I'm going to show this because I got the book, and here it is. That's his that's his book. It's The Art of Interpretation, and it's a guide to remember rules of reality. And I requested him today to talk about what are the rules of reality and what's his journey. Uh, because 2 weeks ago, it's most 2 weeks ago, right? You
What was
left.
two?
You
It's been
left.
longer than that now. It's about 3.5 weeks since we started the journey. But it
Good.
was the 21st of April, I believe.
Yeah. So more than 3 weeks ago, Nima and one of his friends left from Los Angeles and decided to have a long trip for about visiting 50 different states. And I was shocked because I said, well, okay, that's the COVID-19 situation. So are you going to face differences, problems? For those who don't know, Nima been through a lot. changes and shaping, and I was impressed by his changing during the time, and I um, decided to ask him what are the interpretation of those reality, and how do you feel that if you shape, you change your status mentally and physically, how do you think that this will allow you to become part of this whole world and of the nature?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was recognizing the power of our perception and our interpretation, and how information, well, let's start from the beginning. For information to enter our reality, it needs to gain our attention first. And that was the first thing I recognized, was the power of our attention and the power of our focus. So things may be going on in the world, but without us being aware of it, without it gaining our attention for that information to enter our reality, it doesn't exist to that individual or to that group of people. So that really showed me the power of my focus. And if I was focused on things that weren't serving me at that point in my life, how that would be what my reality was in that moment. And it also showed me the power of information, and the information that entering your reality is just, yeah, it's going to create it. So from there, I started redirecting my attention, redirecting my focus, and yeah, started diving deeper. And yeah, then you can see that information that enters your reality is going to be classified. It's going to get meaning attached to it, value attached to it, energy and emotion is going to be attached to it, depending on the interpretation you make of it. So if somebody punches me in the face and I fall down, that was an objective thing that happened. I got punched in the face. Now, the interpretation I make of that is going to shape how I move forward. So, if that interpretation is, I'm so weak, this person hit me and I fell down, that's going to create one way of living and one way of experiencing life, compared to if that same thing happens and I say, wow, I got hit really hard and I'm able to get back up, and wow, I can take these challenges in life and continue to move forward. So the same thing happened, but the interpretation shaped the experience for me, and it's going to affect the way that I move forward in life. And that's happening regularly.
Well, the, why I requested to Nima to join is it's because why, because of the association. Nazo Sano means that healthy nose. I've been through a lot from exercises that he teach me. For those who don't know, Nima was one of the first that had the journey many years ago. When was that Mount Schnetska that you climbed almost
Uh,
naked?
yeah, that was in 2016, and Wim had been teaching it for quite a few years before, but it hadn't gained the popularity that it currently has yet. So I was training with a gentleman by the name of Wim Hof, and I ended up watching a documentary about him, signed up and flew over to Poland to train with him. And yeah, we did climb the tallest mountain in the Czech Republic in minus 12 degrees Celsius, wearing just shoes and shorts in a snowstorm. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm from Los Angeles and I hate the cold. So it was definitely transformative for me. Not
So
just the cold, but breathing exercises.
so here's the thing. During the as he announced, it's the art of interpretation. It means that when you focusing on something, it depends on your how would you interpret something. Okay, for what I understood from the book and for what you're saying, right? So it is your behavior in facing something that is outside of your comfort zone that makes your reality. Is it okay? Is it right?
I would say that when you face something outside of your comfort zone, it gives you the ability to expand your boundaries in that particular thing and grow from it. And that's one of the important things for me in life, that is to not be locked into one particular form of expression, one particular form of being. And as long as I stay in my comfort zone all the time, and as long as I keep doing the things that make me comfortable, I'm greatly reducing the chances of expanding my boundaries, of taking in new information. And that's something that I definitely value, is operating within multiple parameters of expression. And this trip that we're on is also involved with that heavily. It's an experimentation in expression. Each place that we're going, we're diving heavily into the environment and trying to remove that stigma of saying, oh, this is just the way I am and this is how I do things. So if you see what we've posted so far, we were on a ranch in Nevada and staying with the cowboy over there and really dove into that. So living the cowboy life and working construction 10 to 12 hours a day and sitting back afterwards and having a cold beer, which I don't even like beer, but I said, you know what, this is what's happening over here and I'm going to fully embrace it. And the next chapter that will be coming out soon, we were in Sedona, Arizona with a Kundalini yoga instructor, eating healthy, raw, vegan food and practicing yoga daily, quite different from the last place, but fully diving into that and allowing myself to express myself in a completely new way there. So that'll continue to go on as we move through this journey.
So you will change your shape based on where you're going. You adapt yourself, right?
Correct. And I'm not saying that everybody has to always change their shape and um, change their expression, but it's I find a great value in at least pushing yourself into these different forms, experiencing it, and then gaining the awareness of what that feels like so you can begin to determine which place you want to be. And one of the big things that I see in this world or in individuals is we have these set ways of reacting to particular external triggers in our environment. So if this person yells at me, then I'm going to respond like this. If this person smiles at me, then I'm going to respond like that. And we almost we think we're making choices in how to do things, but it's programmed deep in our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, and we just react reflexively to the way that we've been programmed to be. So yeah, we're working on responding to our environment in the way that we want rather than just automatically reacting to it. So right now we're diving deep into each environment, feeling it. And with that, I'll have the awareness of what that feels like. And in the future, moving forward, I can decide how I want to react to a particular thing.
In order to address exactly where I want to go and how to recollect to the COVID-19 situation, there's a chapter that I really like from the book, which the chapter for identity, and then you're telling about three informational pathways that you create your identity, right? And you say there
Yes,
are boundaries, attributes, and values. Can you
correct.
explain what are those informations and why are so important to create your identity? And then we will go through why your identity will have an impact on your health. And then from the health, how much is the possibility to have an immune system which is completely satisfied or health? And then I will explain might be what are the consequences of not having a, an immunization or a healthy body. Would you explain those three concepts, please?
Sure. So, three major things we identify with are our boundaries, our attributes, and our values. So, our boundaries are what we're okay with, what we consider good, what we consider bad, what we consider right, what we consider wrong, what we consider funny or stupid, or all these different adjectives that we add to things, how we end up explaining something to ourselves and to others. Those are our boundaries, and in the book I talk about them as circles. And if you look at your funny circle, for one person, that circle might be larger than the other person's because they find a lot more things funny than someone else does. And then some things may overlap, like something might be funny to you and it might also be stupid to you, and it falls into your stupid circle and into your funny circle. Now, that boundary can fluctuate, and it does fluctuate, and that's one of the primary things that I well, I'll get into that after we go over attributes and values as well. So our attributes include things like our output capacity, which would be our best that we can do in a particular thing. So my strength, I have a certain amount of strength that I have when lifting something. I have a certain amount of, I can jump to a particular level. I know a certain level of mathematics and so on and so forth. Again, our attributes are something that can change with practice or without giving it attention. You know, if I'm exercising regularly, then yeah, I'll get stronger. But if I'm sedentary and just sitting around, that attribute, my output capacity, can go down in something. And finally, and there we could sit and talk about this for hours, so I'm just briefly going over it. And our values, I think, is something that we can all relate to a lot easier. What we find most valuable in life, what we find least valuable in life, what's important to us, and what we don't care about. Now, I remember going to a Tony Robbins seminar, and he had people write down what they what they were like 10 years ago, what they were like 5 years ago, what they're like now. And he had people look at it and he said, do you see how much you changed during that time? And it was really good information for people to see that they were changing. But I'm just looking at identity through those three pillars. You can just look at a moment, you know. So my boundaries, my attributes, and my values when I'm sitting here talking to you are in a particular space. But if I was in a survival situation right now, my values would change, my boundaries would change, and even with a sudden influx of adrenaline and all these things, my strength might change, my actual attributes and my output capacity, those things can change as well. So even even taking it to another level, our identity changes depending on the people that we're interacting with. So I'm sure for you, when you're talking to the head of the hospital, you express yourself differently. The language that you're using, the things that you value during that moment are very different to you. Um, when you're talking to me, it's very different. When you're talking to me on this Zoom call, it's different than when you and me are just sitting back and laughing and having our own conversations. So we can begin to look and see that illusion of this is how I am and this is what it is and that's it. It's just that, it's an illusion. We're not isolated in one particular expression. We are constantly expressing ourselves differently depending on the situation we're with, depending on the people we're with, and depending on when new information enters our mind and our interpretation changes the way we thought about something before. So, yeah, I really wanted people to be able to logically look at this and see that, hey, I am changing, but am I changing on autopilot? Am I changing in accordance with the way that I've just accepted things and been programmed to move forward in life, or do I want to direct the change? Is there a particular goal I have in life or a way that I want to be? And if so, let me recognize that these changes are always happening, and I can actually take take control of that and begin to direct the change.
So the essential needs of shaping yourself, depending on situation, that will make you in a comfort place, I guess, and let you live as much or as in order on how you want to live yourself and not depending on the others, right? So this will have a huge impact on your mental states and your mood. For what you know, do you think that if mentally is someone is in a good mental state will impact his or her body?
Absolutely, and I think that there are doctors who've spoken about that quite extensively. One that I would highly recommend for people to check out is Dr. Bruce Lipton, who Yeah, he coined the term epigenetics, and he was the one who spoke about how our genes are the blueprint of our expression. But even when you have a blueprint for a house, that doesn't determine what the house is going to look like. It's the people that are building the house that are going to determine the final way that the house looks. And similarly, the way in which you interpret information, the state that your genes are in, the environmental culture, as he puts it, and he found this while working with stem cells 30 some years ago. And yeah, again, I highly recommend you guys listen to Dr. Lipton, because I don't want to butcher anything he said, but when he looked at a stem cell, he said, okay, if I put this in an environmental culture of muscle tissue, the stem cell would then become muscle. If I put this in a environmental culture surrounded by bone, then the stem cell would become bone. And then what he said from there is, you have cells that are dying and replicating regularly, and the environmental culture of those cells in your body are the blood that's in your body. So if I am in a high state of stress, my environmental culture is going to be filled with cortisol. Now, if I'm in a high state of love and gratitude, there's going to be oxytocin and serotonin, these things moving um, through my body, and that's going to affect the way in which my cells express themselves. Now, another thing to talk about is your nervous system and its attachment to your immune system. So our immune system is our nervous system and our immune system are always going to prioritize an external threat over an internal threat. So if I feel sick and I have flu-like symptoms, but somebody pulls a gun on me and is robbing me at that time, it's going to prioritize that. It's not going to prioritize, oh, let me take care of this flu-like symptoms right now. Everything is going to move towards that. So yeah, that's very much worth looking at. It's very much worth seeing at a moment like this, when people are afraid of coming out and looking at one another, being close to one another, and are these COVID-19 particles in the air, and is that person going to cough on me? And if I touch this thing, is that going to happen? How much of your focus is on fear of your external environment? Because we can certainly agree that even if it's not 100% prioritizing that external threat, it's definitely taking away from it's whatever percentage it is taking away from healing you internally and taking care of you. And I think a strong immune system right now and a healthy mindset is crucial to strength while dealing with any virus, not just this one.
I think that what did you say? That prioritizing things have an impact on us, and we do have to think about what are our priorities and taking care of them. And one of the priorities of the human body, of course, is the breathe, breathing. Breathing is essential. And I've learned many years ago when you were here home, you were doing exercise. I was fascinated by those exercises. I remember those you were going deeply in those breathing exercises. You were so much happy with that, and you finally reached to a mental state that was completely different. And I was shocked, so I did it on myself, and that has a huge impact on me because I suddenly became another person, and it was something that experimenting things in a different ways, and after that my mind changed. So, do you think that breathing could have an impact on our body and our health and our mind?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm certain of it. And yeah, if the people watching right now want to try it for themselves, if you're breathing through your nose, taking deep, slow, rich breaths using your diaphragm, you're going to feel very differently than if you start going, if you just hyperventilate and breathe through your mouth and tense your body and do that for 10 seconds, you're going to feel a difference in the way your body feels. So, yeah, no doubt. And yeah, those things are tied to the way we feel. And I think the overwhelming majority of people are breathing too quickly, and it's something that we're doing all the time. And this this brings me to a point in the book that is very important to me. There's a lot of books that talk about being conscious, and being conscious is very important. And consciously, as soon as you look at something consciously, you bring it to the forefront of your mind, and you're able to, yeah, work with it and affect it. If it's in your subconscious, you're not thinking about it, and it's on autopilot in that moment. But if you want lasting change in your life, you just, we don't have the bandwidth to be conscious about every little thing all the time. So we're gonna have to pick and choose those things. And the breath would be a good place to start. If you begin to focus on consciously changing the way that you breathe, eventually through repetition, it'll move itself into your subconscious. And you can see that with anything, you know. And one of the examples I use in the book is in boxing. When I was taking boxing, when I first threw a punch, it was sloppy, and I had no technique or anything. And then you have someone tell you, no, you need to pivot on the ball of your foot. You need to use the power in your hips. You need to make sure that your shoulder is blocking your chin. So if someone throws a counter attack, you're not exposed, and twist your hand at this moment when you throw the punch. And that's a lot of information. So I couldn't just subconsciously absorb it. I had to be very conscious of it. And I was very conscious of it while I was working on it. But through repetition, it it ingrained itself into my subconscious, and I no longer had to think about it. And you can do that with your breath. You can do that with anything. And I highly recommend people evaluate their breath. They look at different resources for the way they breathe, and yeah, it'll have an impact on you all the time because you're always breathing.
Last thing that I would like to ask is that you expressing four ways of absorbing information to create your reality. What are the differences between those different reality, and what are the pathway that you believe that is changing your attitude to shape this reality?
So all of these pathways are influencing the reality you experience. We have our experience realities. So there are things that come to your awareness through your experiences. We have our assumed realities, which is things that from the information we have, we begin to assume how something is going to play itself out. And I say, oh, you know, from what I've seen and this and what I've experienced, this thing that I haven't experienced yet, I have an assumption that this is what it's going to be like, and we accept that. And then the biggest one is our adopted reality, and that's information that we accept as true most of the time from a source that we trust. And that's where most of our reality comes from. You know, we don't have the time to experience everything, so we adopt the reality that a source is telling us is true. Now what we don't seem to acknowledge with that, or maybe a lot of us aren't aware of it, is if we look at the source of water coming from somewhere, if there's a spring that has water coming out of the ground, that may be the source of that water. But many miles down, there will be a river, and someone may look and say, this is where this water comes from. It comes from this river. It comes from that waterfall into this river, but the waterfall is the source of that water. Um, the same goes with information. We, my mother might tell me something. My mother might tell me something, and I say, oh, this information is coming from my mother. But perhaps she got that information from a friend, and that information came from a TV channel that that person got it from. And once you start to follow the line of it to find where the source of that information is, it may be coming from somewhere completely different that I don't trust, and I don't accept their information. But as long as information is passing through, it's rippling through, it might find itself back into my reality, and I might absorb it and accept it from a source that I do trust, but they were just a mouthpiece, or what I call is a bridge for that information. And yeah, finally, there's uncovered reality, which you can, a lot of people have actually gotten it from very deep breathing exercises. There are people that have received that through near death experiences, through meditation, through psychedelic experiences. There are many different ways, but it seems like once the mind has been quieted, and one of the commonalities that I found is a deep surrender to whatever is, through there certain information will enter people's lives, and at, that seems more like a remembering than being told. And I found great value in the uncovered reality that I've received in my life. And it's very empowering too when you have an experience like that, because it starts to make you think, wow, there's this information deep in me, and perhaps it's been buried by life and all the information, all the different things that I've prioritized, and maybe I've forgotten these things. And that's why I chose the title A Guide to Remembering Rules of Reality, because I absolutely believe that everything that's in that book is inherently and deeply within all of us. And perhaps we've gotten pulled into the systems and the games and the things that we've accepted as important and things of that nature. And we just forgot for a while. And I hope that this brings it back to the forefront of people's minds. I hope that it becomes a topic of discussion and we can all start to speak about these things and kind of dive into it and see. I love hearing different perspectives. It gives me a chance to see things from a different angle, and it gives me a chance to hear how a person processes their reality. And I get to, if I can listen to them without judging them in that moment, it gives me a chance to see what it's like to be them, and I find a lot of value in that.
And just some closing remarks. I do really liked what your flow chart on perception and interpretation. And I just want to close the whole thing with this. What are the perception and interpretation that you have with this COVID-19 situation?
My perception, and just to briefly give people a difference, our
Yeah.
perception is the lens that we're seeing the world through, and our perception is the sum total of our interpretations. So all the interpretations you've made in your life create your perception, and your interpretation is consciously made, whereas your perception is subconsciously made and is already a predetermined way that you're looking at things. So when I look at COVID-19, for me personally, I see something big that happened that the world wasn't prepared for in that moment. And I see people trying their best to do what they can to stabilize the situation. And for me personally, I look at how things are moving forward, and yeah, I can speak for America, but every state is different. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in Arizona right now, and they've opened everything back up as of May 15th. In Texas, they're completely opening things up. In Los Angeles County, they've decided to extend the stay-at-home order for a few more months. Um, yeah, I'm observing right now and not holding hard to any particular thing, but something that is very interesting for me and a bit concerning for me is the censorship of information. And as we spoke about, information is what creates our reality. So when I see different major platforms where most of the world is getting their information, pulling pulling different points of view off and trying to funnel one particular way of seeing things, people need to recognize that when information is stripped from you and you're being told this is all you can look at, that's heavily going to shape the way you see the world. And when that shapes the way that your beliefs are created, that's going to shape the way in which you express yourself. And when you express yourself in a particular way, not only is that going to change your reality, but it's going to change the reality of the people around you and what they see. And that for me, I don't like at all. I think information should be available to everybody, I think critical thinking is something that has really died, and we need to bring a resurgence to that. Yeah, we don't need, life isn't black and white. That's not the way it works. And you don't just say it's either this or it's that. We have the ability to process information. It's a gift that all of us have. And with that gift, you're giving it away when you just plug into one channel of information, or you look for information to reinforce what you already believe, and just allow that to make you feel like you're right and you're smart, and you know what things are. It's just not true. And when we need to be okay with saying I don't know, and we need to be okay with looking at multiple sides of information and making our own assessment, and keeping ourselves open to changing that assessment. That's very important in my opinion. So yeah, more than anything, censorship of information. I It's alarming to me. It's and there That's what I would say about COVID-19 right now that my focus has been on.
I think that admitting it's something crucial, like I don't know or I know, or you can say I know or I don't know, but I want to learn more. And that it gives you the power, the strength to say that, well, I just want to get more information before judging or telling someone. And it's crucial to say that, when you think that education is expensive, try ignorance. So there's always a possibility that everyone can get more information.
I'm absolutely with you, man. And when I want to learn more, I want to be able to look at multiple perspectives. I don't want to have someone predetermine what perspective is okay for me to absorb. You know, when there are doctors, multiple doctors having their point of view pulled off of YouTube, if it doesn't align with what the World Health Organization thinks, I don't like that. If you're okay with leaving flat earth videos up, if you're okay with leaving alien videos and anti-vax videos and take this essential oil and it's going to cure cancer videos, you're leaving that kind of information up, then why is it at a moment right now where half the world's population is on lockdown, why are you determining that doctors who have dedicated their lives, doctors like yourself who've really put the time in, and are have taken an oath to try to help people, they're sharing their perspective. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But allow people to take multiple sides and make a decision for themselves. We are very powerful. Us as individuals, we are very powerful, and when you begin to limit our information, you begin to limit the way in which we can shape our reality, and that's taking power away from the people, and that's not what I want to see, and I hope that's not what most of you want to see as well.
Can you tell me what are your because you're two, right, during this journey?
Sorry, what was the last question?
We, you are two of you doing this journey through those 50 states, right?
Yes. So you can,
What's the next? What's next?
next is going to be New Mexico, and then from there we'll be going on to Texas, and we'll see where it comes from there. Yeah, we're kind of trying to follow the CDC guidelines with the way we move forward, and at the same time we are trying to move into states that are giving us the ability to actually experience it. Because right now, New Mexico is still, yeah, they're locked down right now, and a lot of things are closed. So even if we wanted to go camping, that's not an option right now. We're kind of trying to evaluate things and move forward in the way we do. And you can find that and follow that on Instagram. The handle is at Shifting Fears. Our website is www.shiftingfears.com. Basically on every platform, from Facebook to TikTok to YouTube. We'll have a YouTube video coming soon with interviews of people that we've stayed with,
Good.
talking about these same concepts that you and I are speaking about, and just hearing the perspective of different people from different parts of the world, how they see reality, what their values are, things of that nature. And I can tell you guys personally, we've done 5 interviews so far, two in Nevada, three in Arizona, and there was immense value in each one of those interviews and some beautiful perspectives from people that are living very, very different lives. And it was very, yeah, it was very inspirational to me. And I look forward to doing more and more of that.
Great. So I can tell you that how much I'm happy to have you here today with our discussion. We always focusing on medicine and science, but I do think that talking and having perspective and different perception of the ways that we are living our life is essential. So from now on, I would love to do every Sunday, might be some interviews, and get more reality and a word or different perception from different part of the world. And I've started from you because you live for life in different places around the world, from Thailand, over Los Angeles, Italy. By the way, Nima born in Perugia.
Yeah, you're in my hometown right now, man. And yeah, one of the things I'd like to point out for people too is that I lived many, many years in depression. I was so confused at the way the world operated, and I didn't feel like I belonged in this planet. And yeah, I've had massive shifts once new information entered my reality. Once I put myself out there, got out of my comfort zone, and I know anytime I see people that are in a space that doesn't seem very doesn't seem like it's serving them, I know that I wasn't any better, and in most cases, I was in a lot worse shape. So, yeah, anybody can unlock these things, and yeah, I hope you do. I hope my book brings that to you. I hope putting yourself out of your comfort zone, experiencing life, and not just falling into the day-to-day systems. And I think that this COVID thing has a big blessing for people because that stay-at-home order almost cleaned the slate for people, because when you're sitting there and I'll speak for Los Angeles. You're waking up, you're getting in your car, then you're stuck in traffic, and you're like, oh man, here's traffic. And now automatically you put it on this radio station, you listen and take that information, and then you go to work, and oh, there's that boss that you don't like, and there's this person that's your friend, but you don't know if it's your friend. All these same patterns that you go through day to day to day that begin to make you attach yourself to it and identify yourself and your expression with that have been removed from a lot of people. And now you have the time, your attention is freed up to be able to take in new information. Your These triggers that are putting you into these reactions are removed, and you have a chance to look at yourself through a clean slate right now. And that's a beautiful gift for people, and I really hope you guys take advantage of it.
Great. Thank you so much, Nima, for being with us today. And I wish you luck for the next trip. And Nima is going to be around, as he said. There's some sites that I recommend to go through and visit and watch their journey. So there's a lot of information, and I hope to see you soon. Once I, I really would love to get you here, or as soon as possible, we'll see each other again. Thank you so much,
Yeah, I hope
Nima,
so.
and I love you.
All right.
Stay
Love
safe.
you, brother.
Bye bye.
Bye.